Somebody? Sure, what I want you to talk, nobody talks. It's okay. Integers, Logan, are positive and negative numbers. So, where'd that go? Around. In other words, we're looking at this. The book puts them in parentheses just to kind of get you started. You don't really have to for the most part, but let's look at this. Plus 6, plus 3. What if it was plus 6 plus a negative 3? What if it was a negative 6 plus 3 and a negative 6 plus a minus 3? Have we done this before?
No, we didn't like it.
Alright. And here's the deal. You could always revert back to a number line if you like. However, when you get to be 40 years old and you're still drawing number lines to do this, somebody might question you. If you have a number line, remember positive numbers, if you're adding, positive numbers go to the right and negative numbers go to the left. So here you're starting out at a positive 6, so that would be here. Here's a positive 6. And adding 3 more to that means you go to the right, so it would go to 7, 8, and 9. I mean, this is what you've done since you've been in preschool, kindergarten, well, probably not that. 6 plus 3 is 9. We deal with positive numbers all the time. Okay? This one here, what about this? If I have 6 plus a negative 3, well, still, I'm starting at this 6, but when I add a negative, I actually come backwards. Okay, if I go back 3 places, where do I end up? 6, 5, 4, 3. You will notice that adding a negative is the same thing as subtracting. 6 minus 3. Positive 6 plus a negative 3. Okay, now here's where people start to get a little mixed up and maybe / confused here. If I start at a negative 6, here's my 0. Here's my negative 6, and I go 3 places to the right. I add 3 to it, 1, 2, 3. Where do I end up here? This is negative 6, this is negative 5, negative 4, negative 3. This equals a negative 3. And this one here, if I start at a negative 6 and I come back 3 places from there, where do I end up? Negative 7, negative 8, negative 9. Now, is there an easier way to think about that? Absolutely. Okay? And here's some thought processes here. If the numbers you are adding together have the same sign, look, these are both negative, and in this case they're both positive, correct? They have the same sign. You add them together, because look what I got for both answers. I got 9s for both of those answers. And you take the one that has whatever sign they are is the sign that you keep with them. Both negatives ends up being negative, both positives. If you add 2 negative numbers together, people, you get a bigger negative number. Okay? Now, if they're of opposite signs, guess what you do? Opposite signs mean that you will always subtract them. Okay? 6 minus 3, 6 minus 3. But how do you know whether it's positive or negative? A rule of thumb. As you stand there and stare awkwardly at me like, I don't have any idea. Logan?
The sign.
What sign? I know, I put the negative there, but how do I know when I subtract these two, how do I know that this one's going to be positive and this one's going to be negative? Claire! Right. Whatever the sign of the bigger number is. I have more negatives here than positives, so my answer is going to be negative. Another way to think about it is like this, children, in a big little melting pot there. You can think of a negative 6 as like 6 negative signs. And a positive 3 is like 2 positive or 3 positive signs. Well, you've learned in science that a positive and a negative cancel each other out. So these cancel each other out, those cancel each other, those cancel each other out. What are you left with? 3 negatives. 3 negatives, sorry, 3 negatives. So let's look at it a little, let's do a couple more here. Positive 16 plus negative 24. The question you should ask yourself is my answer gonna be positive or negative right off the bat? It's gonna be negative. Why? Because the negative number's bigger. And then what do you do to find out what the answer is? You always, if they're opposite signs, you will always subtract them. What is 24 minus 16? Andrew? 8. So my answer to this is a negative 8. I have 8 more negatives than I have positives there. What about 17 plus 22? What is positive 17 plus 22? If they're the same sign, what do? You add them together. You have 17 positives plus another 22 positives, you're going to end up with, David? Yeah, 39 positives. And by the way, we usually don't. In reality, we don't have to put those positive signs in front of them. The book's just trying to get you to see them there. How about this one? Negative 43 plus a negative 21. If they're both negatives and I'm adding them together, my answer is going to be negative or positive? Negative. What do I do if they have both the same signs? I am going to Andrew Stufert, and I get
64.
negative 64. What about a negative 100 plus a positive 35? My answer is going to be negative or positive? Negative because the negative number is bigger, they're opposite signs, and I have to just subtract them to see by how much it's bigger. What is 100 minus 35, Davey?
Negative 65.
Negative 65. I don't think you'll have too much trouble with that, but it's probably good to get back into thinking that way. Now, for the harder part of the day, children, put on your thinking